Welcome to GaulCast. A very, very late GaulCast. Sorry about that, but things happen. I'm here with my co-host, Branogara.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest. I'm going to do my best to pronounce your name. Selgowiros Information. Did I do good?
I mean, it works. I'll go over it. So, no, it's funny on every single platform. People are like, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it. I've gotten Selgowiros. Where does the soft G come in? No, it's Selgowiros, Carantos, Kaitakos. But everyone else, everyone shortens it to Selg, and that's totally fine. So
because that is how we can pronounce it.
Yep, and
it generally looks like your last name says cat tacos. I just need you to know that.
Yeah. Probably doesn't have the I in there.
C-A-I-T-A-C.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
But it looks like it says cat tacos.
Quick little correction. Someone gave me a little heads up from our last podcast where I said that Caesar was the one that was talking about the sacrificial stuff. I was wrong. That was not Caesar. That was Lycan, whatever his name is. So my bad. Yep. My bad. Yeah. I'm not perfect.
No, it's kind of hard to take take a hold of all that stuff just because people are borrowing from different ethnographers half the time, and it just kind of jumbles up over time. I'm not good with dates, Yeah. So
me either.
Some days I'll be like, did Caesar say this, or did fucking Cicero, or I don't know, Google that.
Was it Levy? Was it Plutarch? I don't even know anymore.
Right. It almost always boils down to is Poseidonius, and everyone's copying it. So whatever. Because Kaiser did. He basically copied a lot of Poseidonius, and some of this stuff isn't necessarily Poseidonius, but a lot of it is. So it's whatever. But
yeah, it's kind of like when we had around Grandfather Fire on and talking about how I think that was the episode where Tacitus probably wasn't even there firsthand to record some of the stuff.
No, he definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, this episode we are going to talk about ancestor worship and heroes. We combined those two because we have the Oh My God series, which is part 1, part 2, and part 3. Last episode we did the gods. This episode we're doing ancestor worship and heroes. And that is why we brought on Selg. I don't know if you're on that side of me, but you might be on that side.
Well, according to my screen, he's right there. That's on my screen.
Up, maybe. And he's going to go ahead and talk to us about ancestor worship and heroes and his experience with them. Because I am super new to it and still avoiding a lot of it like a terrible person. Because it is definitely not something that in my 20 years as a polytheist I ever dipped my toe in until the last 6 months.
Oh yeah. No,
it's something I'm just kind of dipping my toesies into now with a project I'm working on. But anyway, take it away, Selg.
Sure. I mean, to start, it's pretty understandable that not a lot of people who just come into polytheism don't really go to the ancestor worship route right away, especially what with the more we become aware of systemic racism and things like that, because who wants to worship people who were incredibly flawed over time? I mean, a lot of people in the West, have that connection to a heritage where it does have an ugly side, specifically like slave ownership or, genocide, things like that. So I totally get why people don't go that route right away. But, ancestor worship also doesn't just include necessarily your blood relation, things of that nature. And that's kind of been a hullabaloo as of late, especially on TikTok, where people have been trying to get people to ancestor work and things like that for spiritual healing. But it's also like, it's a weird situation because people are encouraging people to go through their family history and do this sort of work. But it's also like, well, if you want to cut toxic people out of your life, like in the mortal plane, you should have that option. And because we encourage that often. So it's also like we should be able to do that on the spiritual plane as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not comfortable with working with some ancestors or worshiping some ancestors, I honestly don't blame anyone. So I generally put the caveat out there that if you don't want to worship some ancestors, but some of your ancestors, I mean, that's totally cool. You don't have to treat it like a package deal. No one is forced to do any of that. So for my own ancestor worship, I don't worship anyone past a certain, pre-Christian point. Like once we get into Christianity, there are a lot of polytheists who do worship Christian ancestors and also try to interact with them. I don't, mainly for respect purposes. Like my great grandmother should have made it on my shrine by a lot of polytheist accounts, but she was very heavily Lutheran, so I want to respect that. And in fact, I even asked Epana what the night that she passed to please bring her to my great grandfather John and wherever he is. And I don't go after specific ancestors like that. So for my stuff, I'll go towards, the old bell guy or the bull guy. So that's who I'm aiming for. And whenever I ask, I'll put out a blanket statement. Like if any of my ancestors, blood related, want to come in, this includes Christians, they are more than welcome to hang out if they want. I'm not talking directly to them. It's different. It's a different target audience, but if they want to show up, that's totally cool.
I have two different ancestor altars. I have one that is, I grew up in Northern California in a town that was very migrant workery. And so I had a lot of exposure to Mexican culture. So I have a Dia de los Muertos altar in my.
Oh, that's cool.
In my,
awesome.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. My words are just not working today. Dining room.
There
that's what it is. And that one has like stuff for my dad, my grandmother, my other grandmother, my partner's mother, things like that, and my dog.
Yeah.
And that's where I put anything that's going to be anybody that's going to be into any Christian,
right?
Christian ancestors. And then I have my other ancestor altar, which is for my non-Christian ancestors, and that's the one that I do active worship with.
Yeah.
And I have active interactions with them. The one in there is more memorial. I don't reach out to those ancestors, mostly because I'm almost positive that if I try to, I'm going to have some sort of absolute meltdown. And I'm definitely not prepared for that lecture from my dad. Like it's just, I'm good, thanks. So they have their own altar, and Dia de los Muertos is strongly rooted in Christianity and stuff like that. So that's where that one lives. And then this one is my it's not specifically Gaulish by any stretch of the imagination, because I come from a varietal background. It's just kind of all of them.
Yeah.
All right, my altar. I have a hang on 1 second. Let me see if I can reach it. So a kind of hero, and by ancestor I just mean someone because I'm primarily Swiss. Someone who is heavily rooted in Swiss history is Divico here.
Oh yeah.
So he's part of my hero / ancestor corner of my altar.
He looks mad.
Well, the only other picture of him that exists, he looks pretty mad. So, where he's talking to Caesar. So, understandable. Anyway, I never thought about separating based on if your ancestors were Christian or not. That's something I need to really look into. Like my dad, he always referred to himself as a retired Catholic because he comes from a long line of Swiss German Catholics. Yeah, he comes from a long line of Swiss German Catholics, and let's just say him and my grandfather, who was very strict, did not get along. So as soon as my dad moved out, he basically wanted nothing to do with religion. But yeah, no, that's a really interesting fact I didn't even think about.
For me, it's a degree of separation. My dad's side of the family is non-denominational Christian. My mother's side of the family is Russian Orthodox because they're Russian. All of them. My grandmother was born in Russia in 1912. And then my partner's family, on his mother's side, his mother converted over to Judaism to marry my partner's father, but she grew up Catholic. She was born in Spain, Catholic. So I'm just gonna, for my brain's ease of being able to function, we're just gonna move those guys over there.
I mean, my mom's side is primarily Lutheran. My dad's side's kind of a hodgepodge of different religions. I have a Mormon sister, a lot of Catholics. I have a whole branch of my family that's Pentecostal, and that's as you put it earlier, so that's the kind of part of my family I want to disassociate from, because they are batshit crazy.
Right. Yeah, like I said, the separation is mostly just out of respect for the dead, because I don't want to tear them away from their afterlife, especially for something that they might consider apostasy or heresy, things like that. Because a lot of us in the polytheist theological scope or community, we do acknowledge that the Christian God is real. So it's I definitely don't want to step on toes. That's really about it. But yeah, that's the method to my madness. I'm just if you guys want to come, the invite's there, but you're not obligated, So
can I just say that whatever piece of art is behind you is so pretty and it's so distracting?
Yeah, Sarah has been doing all the decorating in the house, and yeah, we've had this for since we've actually been dating. We used to live in a basement, and she used to have this down there, and I like it. She wanted to throw it away at one point in time, but I was like, oh, I like this. So, and it's just
like a wing.
Yeah, no, she loves bird wings too. She's got a few tattoos about it, so maybe that's subconsciously why she kept it.
Nice.
Ooh. But yeah,
my shoulders to my hips.
But yeah, we have a butt ton of art all over.
Nice.
And there's my ancestor shrine right there.
Nice. Awesome. Mine's directly behind me, behind my camera. Across the room, literally directly behind my camera. If I do this, I can see it. So, what has your experience been like with ancestor worship as a Gaulish polytheist?
Honestly, the experiences I've had have been very welcoming in regards to how I approach it. Sometimes it happens that, we all get lazy sometimes, unfortunately. So a lot of the routine might be interrupted, but you never give up. So, you always come back to it. And you always make the apology hey, I'm sorry, I haven't been here in a while. But, each and every time that I've gone back, they've been no, stay. We want you to stay, stay with us for a while, talk with us. And I always, again, with all these hiatuses that do happen, I do feel bad. So I just, I try to be as diligent as I can with my daily stuff. So far, I've been using purified water rather than coffee because I haven't had a lot of ground coffee lately. So purified water and incense, and then just out the door if I need to make a really quick offering. If I recall Bruno correctly, what he says is that there's no direct attestation to ancestor cults, but that they surely, these are his words, by the way, they surely must have had it just because, again, the Indo-European theory, and they were in contact with the Greeks and Romans, so cultural diffusion probably would have happened. But he does relate the cult of the head to possible ancestor cults, which is what you're referring to, cutting off heads and dipping them in resin. But he also goes over, I think, an instance or two where there have been chests found with skulls. You know what? Here, give me a second. I'm going to go find the entry because it's one of my go-to books. Be right back.
While I'm next to the pantry, I might as well grab me a soda.
While you're hiding in the kitchen.
And we're back. I just gotta find the page. There we go. That was the page that I thought it was. All right, let's see here. Yeah, so Renaud right here remarks, according to Diodorus, the Gauls treasured above all the heads of their most illustrious enemies and mummified them by embalming them in cedar oil. They kept them in chests inside their house and would not surrender them to anyone, not even for their weight in gold. This text in Strabo's compilation revealed that these relics were heirlooms passed on from father to son. So let's see, where's the other thing I was talking about? Could have swore there was like something he found besides the stuff in Gournay. But yeah, that's what he says about the cult of the head and ancestor cults, essentially. So there's no direct attestation, but they probably had it. Yeah. And then you have the Ribamont sanctuary, the cool sanctuary with the pillars of with the skulls in it. You've seen that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's also another instance of the cult of the head in action. So it could be that those skulls were actually sacrifices or enemies of certain tribes that they just stuck in there to protect the sanctuary. They could have been dead ancestors, previous priests, things of that nature. We obviously don't. But, the cult of the head does have a presence in archaeology. So let's see if I can find... Thought there was a picture of the sanctuary. One of these days, I will bookmark all the important stuff in this book.
There was a documentary I was watching where I think there was like I'm trying not to mix up thoughts in my head. But I think there was a mass grave found in like Austria that had a bunch of headless bodies in it, which I think feeds into the cult of the head.
Right.
Thing. Yeah.
Where is it?
Sorry, I had to kick one of my dogs out of the bedroom.
Totally fine. Oh, come on. And whatever. But it's one of the sanctuaries. I'm pretty sure it's Ribamont. That was the sanctuary. I just want to make sure that was the correct one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there's that. However, again, we have cultural diffusion, and we also have the Hellenic stuff that the Gauls loved. You know, they who said it? One of the ethnographers pointed out that the Gauls had Hellenophilia, which was a love for, you know, Greek stuff, and the Galatians were essentially Greco-Gauls. You know, they were actually called Helleno-Galatians by Greeks, and then Greci or Gallo-Greci by Romans.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely syncretized with that stuff. And then obviously the Gallo-Romans later on. And the Roman religions also had the Lares and another set of household guardians / ancestor cults. There's also hero cults, which Greek religion had a really good foothold on. So yeah, it would be really crazy if continental Celtic speaking peoples didn't have any ties to ancestor worship or hero worship. But again, they don't write things down. Thanks.
Why would they? It would make it easier for us.
Yep. Something druids, you know, something, you're going to, you know, have a bad memory if you don't write things down, something.
I know there's a couple of different Discord servers that like a constant, like not a constant, but like some server will do like a question of the week kind of a discussion. And one that I've seen pop up frequently is, if they did write stuff down, what would you want to know? You know, because they just
everything,
all of the things ever.
I don't care if it's a recipe for a really simple like meat dish. I want that.
Yeah, right? Like I don't care if it's some farmer jotting down his harvest schedule. Like I don't give a crap. I want it.
It can be a teen's diary. I don't care.
Some angry Gaulish teenager. Today the Romans were mean to me.
I mean, they were in Egypt. They definitely had graffiti examples, you know. So it's like, come on, guys, do better.
Look, I feel like it doesn't matter at what time in history there were teenagers, because they're all terrible.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter the when. They're just all awful.
There was you go first, buddy.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Something I like to tell coworkers is like there was like runic graffiti in like Scandinavia. Like I think there was a cave that's so high up we'd have no idea how they got up there, but there's a runic inscription that says "This is high." Just think.
Yep. So it was like an archaeologist on Twitter that posted this. I gotta find it, but it made me laugh because it was Instagram like fitness Instagram posting, like in ancient Greece. So, oh my god, it was just great. Let's see. Where is it? Yeah, so it's a rock with a Greek inscription that says, "Bybon, son of Phola, could lift this over his head." And it's a 300-pound rock. So
it is, in fact, Instagram fitness posting via ancient Greek.
Yeah, we haven't changed that much.
Nope. Good to know we had influencers then too.
Yep.
But to kind of tie things back to the ancestry thing, in some of my research, I mean, the Catholic Church obviously took a lot of things from paganism. One thing was kind of the hero ancestry thing with the veneration of saints and things like that.
Yep, there is a little bit of a difference with that, and the difference is within polytheism, you're going directly to those figures, whereas saint worship isn't really worship. What's happening is they're interceding. So you go to them and they go to God or Jesus, because, you know, they have the ear of God essentially.
Yeah.
And there's a book called Religion of the Gods, Ritual Paradox by, name escapes me, but it's a really wonderful book. And it points out a bunch of that type of stuff in there as well. Specifically how prayer would get done in these theologies. Like, you would pray to this being, that being would pray to XYZ God, and then XYZ God, being the head of their religion, would pray back, and that's how things would get done. So it's kind of interesting that.
Yeah, exactly. It is really interesting, and how it just carried on from one belief system to another, but just slightly different.
Yep.
I feel like that happens a lot, though. Like, that happens a lot. Now, where would you tie heroes into this? Would you consider the worship of heroes to fall under ancestor worship?
Yeah, I would say, again, hero, the term hero, I take as the Greek word for it. So it's not, I don't, blah, 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 blah. I don't use the contemporary word for hero, you know, so I don't mean necessarily good, virtuous person, you know, like a superhero. I don't mean that. I would like that, but the Greek concept for hero is way different from, you know, what we would think. Sometimes it just means spooky ghost that you want to protect you. You know, there's an instance of a bunch of children who they were murdered somehow, and the village or the town that, you know, this all happened in were very afraid that these children were going to come back if they didn't give them proper hero worship. So they, you know, made them into heroes. So it's like, if you have a spooky ghost who was murdered, like, you know, those horror movies and everything where the murderer, you know, comes back from the dead and things like that. I mean, go to them if you need protection, is what the Greek way of doing things. Sometimes, you know, to appease them. And that's what that would be like. It's also sometimes
I have a house ghost. I leave candies out for him.
There you go. But it also can be a singular ancestor that has done great things. It can be a superhero like person like Achilles or Theseus or, you know, Heracles, things like that. So it's a nebulous term. It encompasses a lot of, you know, different things. But yeah, so heroes for us, I mean, it's a little different, obviously, because we have to go through historical figures and, you know, for Gaulish stuff. And heroes are also very localized. So the Greek way of hero worship was, you know, find a hero, establish a sort of ancestry within that hero scope, and that's how all the what am I trying to say exactly? That would bind the community together, and it would create a local identity. Essentially, that's what Ralph Hustler would say. So yeah, it ties into the ancestral stuff very nicely.
Awesome.
Sorry, I had to step away real quick and separate my idiot dogs.
But yeah, so some people have taken to the obvious choice for Gaulish hero worship would be Vercingetorix. You know, some have kind of shied away from him due to, well, I mean, he did essentially push out a bunch of civilians and whatnot out of Alesia during that war and wouldn't let them back in. So a lot of people, when considering hero worship, didn't take to that. So it's kind of a 50-50 on Vercingetorix in terms of hero worship, but he would be an obvious one for a lot of people. Carl obviously has Divico, you know, because he was the one who led the Helvetii to Switzerland away from Kaiser's forces. So he's a good example as well. For myself, there's Brunatos, who was the leader of the Norui during the Battle of the Cepis. And I haven't started giving cult to him yet, but he is on the docket just because he's super cool. Like, I mean, not just him, it's really the entirety of the Norui, because there's not a lot written about Brunatos. It's just really his name. But the Norui, in conjunction with Brunatos, they almost defeated Kaiser. Like, they were really close. It was actually like a stroke of luck that Kaiser actually won. And he, you know, he records this. He's like, they put up such a good fight and they were so brave that whatever was left over of this tribe, we made sure that we sent envoys to the neighboring tribes saying, hey, do not mess with them. Otherwise you will get our wrath. You know, like, imagine, you know, this, like, Kaiser himself said, don't subjugate this tribe. They're going to be free and you leave them alone, you know, because of how brave they were. Like, that's crazy. No other Gaulish tribe really has that. And they were like catching javelins midair and throwing them back.
Wow.
You know? Yeah.
No, like you do.
they were not messing around. That's why I love the Norui and Brunatos. I'm like, that's trying to defend your homeland, you know?
That's impressive.
It is. It's a really cool feat. But yeah, we do have historical figures, obviously, that we can go to for hero worship and ancestor worship. Because again, ancestor worship isn't necessarily about your bloodlines or anything. So you could start a cult to one of these heroes or historical figures. And if your community grows and everything, then it turns into a, you know, not a metaphor, but, you know, a poetic way of saying we're all descended from, you know, this ancestor and things like that. And you would be right. It wouldn't be biological descent, but you would be in the same cult towards it. So.
Okay. I have one, like, I have my ancestor cultist that is just kind of generically my Gaulish ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have one specific one. Oh, there's a tiny human. I have one specific one that has been with me since I was a small child.
Sure.
That I was afraid of because I didn't know what it was. And grew up in a very Christian household.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still with me.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. I finally stopped my awesome avoidance tactic, which is my favorite way to deal with anything that makes me uncomfortable, is avoidance. And I didn't get a name, but I got more impressions than what I've had previously.
Sure.
So that was interesting, terrifying, but interesting. That little human looks unimpressed by the world.
He's not happy that Mama is going to town without him.
Oh,
well, that'll do it.
He's having a little bit of a meltdown, so I had him.
So he's just gonna hang out with us. I'll figure
out
a way to, like, cover little human's face.
How old is he, Carl?
He is 2 years old.
Ah.
I'm impressed that he's sitting there quietly.
For now, he's starting to get wiggles already.
Oh no, little wiggles.
Go ahead.
So I was also considering Crixus from the Third Servile War. If anyone's actually watched Spartacus from Stars, the overly dramatized TV show.
No, I love that show. It's great.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's 300 for TV. Who can't love that?
Yes.
No, it's awesome. That show I actually watch once a year in its entirety because I love it. But Crixus was actually probably one of the figures from that show that kind of inspired me, besides Aweti, like all the other Gaulish polytheists, to look into like Gaulish history and polytheism, things like that, because Crixus is awesome, and you look at the history of Crixus and it's like he was Spartacus's second in command, allegedly a good enough friend to inspire at his death an entire circus of gladiatorial events with captured Romans, things like that. So he was clearly important to Spartacus, but he led a bunch of slaves, in the Third Servile War, against the Roman armies that were chasing them. And Spartacus, was trying to get across, I want to say he was getting across the Alps. So it was a badly divided army, but it might have been tactical. It might have been that Crixus was trying to raid or whatever. But I do want to start giving cult to Crixus just because he's a famous Gaul who, led an army of slaves who got their freedom. And I feel that would be a really good option for like social justice, things like that.
Ooh, yeah.
And of course, my all-time favorite invention, the athletic cult, because he's a gladiator. And as much as I would love to have photos of Manu Bennett on a shrine, the guy who plays Crixus, I did already make art from him. So
most women.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So he's in the lineup as well. It's unfortunate that we don't have a lot of Gaulish gladiator names on record, but he's one of them. So he's getting some screen time soon. But yeah,
I was watching a YouTube channel called Kings and Generals, and I know some people have been kind of skeptical of it. I personally enjoy it, but they did do a video on the Third Servile War, and so I remember hearing about Crixus through that.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
But yeah, we also like I said, we don't have a terrible amount of attested stuff for ancestor worship on the continental Celtic side, but we do have later instances in insular stuff, but also with Breton stuff. So obviously we have Samhain, which is a pretty big. It's pretty big on ancestor worship during that time. Welsh stuff also has ancestor stuff with Milscow and Gif. We also have the Breton stuff during their time of the dead, essentially. But they also have something that's super interesting, which might be a survival of ancestor cult. Cat, what are you doing? But let's see here. Yeah, he's just going to keep doing this, so whatever. Asshole. But we have the author, W.Y. Evan Lentz, who asserts that while a lot of the insular Celtic peoples have the fairy faith, that the Bretons have the cult of the dead. And they have the essentially the Bay of the Dead, where during their New Year's, the Anku would gather up all the dead and transport them to that, that place as well. And there's also instances where I think a Breton seeress, according to the same author, says that the dead are all around them, ever present in their lives. So there's definitely something there.
Yeah.
Carl, you got any questions down there?
I'm trying to remember the ones I written down.
Your cat would like to be part of this.
Oh, I know. Oh, you. Yeah.
On my altar, I actually have a carving of Ogmios, because I feel that he would be a good representation of ancestor and hero cultists.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that that does link to again, Greek again, because of Ogmios's similarities to Heracles.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, and I think
I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
Oh, but Ogmios feels like it's more. I mean, we don't have any direct we don't have any direct attestations of ancestor hero worship, but Ogmios is probably I would say is probably the closest thing we have.
Yeah, I could definitely see him being one of the closest examples, especially if you go through Diodorus, who says that Heracles is the mythical ancestor of all the Gauls. Because we have Caesar, who says probably through Poseidonius that Dispater is the father of all the Gauls mythically.
Yeah.
But then you have again, you got Diodorus and Parthenius that say that Heracles is the mythical ancestor. And yeah, no, I would definitely say you're in the right direction with that. So.
All right.
Got anything else, Branogara?
Nope, I'm good. All right, it's going to be a short episode. All right with that.
Let's see. I might have something else. Hold on. Oh, Kitty.
And I had, like I said, questions. And
Okay. So this actually ties into my stuff as well, because I used Procopius to extrapolate a Belgic afterlife, essentially. Because Procopius during that time was going around the lands that the Franks ruled, and the people underneath the Franks. He mentioned the people ruled by the Franks, which probably around that time were Romano-Gaulish people at that time, possibly. And the people on the coast around had this belief, which was they imagine the souls of the dead are transported to that island. On the coast of the continent, there dwell under Frankish sovereignty, but hitherto exempt from all taxation, fishers and farmers whose duty it is to ferry the souls over. This duty they take in turn. Those to whom it falls on any night go to bed at dusk. At midnight, they hear a knocking at their door and muffled voices calling. Immediately they rise, go to shore, and they see empty boats, not their own, but strange ones. They go on board and seize the oars. When the boat is underway, they perceive that she is laden choke full with her gunwales, hardly a finger's breadth above water. Yet they see no one, and in an hour's time they touch land, which one of their own craft would take a day and a night to do. Arrived at Brittia, the boat speedily unloads and becomes so light that she only dips her keel in the wave. Neither on the voyage nor at landing do they see anyone, but they hear a voice loudly asking each one his name and country. And that definitely, locks horns with the Breton stuff. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much a direct parallel to that. In fact, John Cook assumes that Brittia might actually be a protoform of Brittany in its indigenous name. I think it's Praise, but it might have been a protoform of Praise. So at least I think that's how you pronounce it. If there are any Breton speakers and I'm butchering everything and I'm getting the language and the country mixed up, I'm very, very sorry. So
that's basically what we do on this podcast is butcher.
We butcher all of the languages, including English. It's fine.
We I don't know how many episodes back it was, but we did one where we had it was Gaulish history because we had
oh my gosh, there's so many names we can't
I apologize to the French speaking people of the world because it was bad.
But yeah, so the account with Procopius obviously parallels the Breton stuff. So, and if the Breton stuff is more modern, I would say it's a survival essentially of that. So that's also an instance where we can say, yeah, they probably had some sort of maintenance of the dead, ancestor veneration, things like that, belief that the dead are around us, interacting with us. So, yeah, that's what I would say about that. Feed your dead, that's kind of that's the Greek way. Feed your dead, make sure they don't, go hungry or crazy and try to kill you. So
that's the Latin way as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and the Russian way. I actually think it's most ways.
Yep.
I think it's the Philippines or Malaysia. I don't know. There was a country in Southeast Asia where they will literally exhume their ancestors and their dead and literally walk them around, and it is horrifying to me personally. No, thank you. But to each their own. If that's what they like, that's what they want to do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if it's a prescribed method over years, who am I to judge? That's totally cool.
If it keeps them from getting angry.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go to those lengths, but yeah, sure. Well,
say that now until someone wakes you up every night at 2 a.m., terrifying you on repeat.
Oh yeah.
It's called children. The little guy has literally woke me up by dumping aftershave on my face. Where he got it, I don't know, but he got it. Anyway, so probably good to move on to the virtue for this episode.
Yeah. So we're doing virtues, and as we go through them, we're just kind of going group by group. Sure. This is the last one for Tautoglacion, and it is I'm gonna mispronounce this. Uelia, which is modesty, honesty.
How's it spelled?
Uelia with an accent mark.
So using Selgowiros vowels to be, let's see. Yeah, so Uelia. Because the U, usually if U is before a vowel, it'll be a consonant. So think about like a W, especially if it's the beginning of the word. You could probably say Uelia or yeah. So, and then the accent above that, it'll just elongate the vowel a little bit. So Uelia. But yeah, that's how I feel Selgowiros would probably pronounce it since I use his vowels.
I feel like he probably doesn't listen to our podcast because we don't so many words.
I honestly, I think he probably would if you presented it to him because he's such a sweet guy. He is
such a nice guy.
11. You're supposed to be better behaved right now than this.
Every time I've sent him anything, he's always gave me good feedback and has read it at least within an hour or maybe the next day. So he's such a sweetheart.
He is. He when I was first getting my Gaulish name together, he helped me with that, and he didn't have to.
For sure.
He's
very patient.
Yeah, very patient, very hands-on, and he helped me out big time.
Yeah, it's a shame because I got rid of my Facebook, which means I got rid of most of like my way of contacting him because Facebook is incredibly toxic. So, and
that's really secretly toxic. It's just toxic.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, that was my main way of communicating with him. So now I'm just kind of Selgowiros less, unless he's still on Discord once in a while. But that's good.
Not frequently, but he is on it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, I was holding 11 because he behaves better if I do.
Oh, sure.
And it just occurred to me that my mic has not been plugged in. And so my recording. Really terrible.
No, I haven't been on Facebook much either, or really any social media. Just
yeah. I'm on TikTok, but that's about it.
Same.
And I post pictures of flowers on Instagram. Very happy with my garden. All right, so Welia is modesty or honesty. We believe that Welia is to be proud but not prideful while maintaining true humility and honest, proper intent and compassion for the things you do to improve the community and hearth. So, Arto, buddy, you're up.
This is one I use quite a bit. I try to be, I mean, modesty and honesty, you kind of, combine those together, you get like humility, which is something that, I try to apply in my life all the time, because it just seems like whenever I get prideful, whether it's the gods or the universe, whatever comes crashing down on me and puts me in my place. But it's good. It's good to have that virtue to kind of anchor you down and kind of getting ahead of yourself, just in various situations life throws at you.
Yeah.
Or unless that one's a little more straightforward and simplistic than we usually do.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to add, Seth?
Not really. I in terms of modesty, I mean, I do try to stay humble as much as I can. I like giving credit where credit is due. Like, my friend Donna Dubos, otherwise known as Farwater to everyone else. He's been a huge help, especially with the language, especially since I used to go to Selgowiros a lot for the language, but I kept feeling bad about going to him all the time. So all right. And then Don took over the language department for a lot of people. And, there's been quite a few influences. Kasana, whenever she writes, or Brune, whenever she comes up, I'll always give them as much credit as I possibly can. Or Ben, my dude Ben, who helped me actually set up the original website, so yeah, anyone who comes in and has even a slight hand in it, try to stay humble and give them as much credit because they deserve it too. But
yeah, absolutely. And your site's great. I mean, I've used it quite a bit in a lot of my research. And
thank you.
I use it too.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, not just for this episode, but for like I said, I'm writing a thing myself for ancestor and hero worship, and your site was the first one I went to, and it's very, very influential. And actually on a similar topic, so I have a blog, website thing.
Oh yeah, I know.
And
yep.
I know, but not everyone who listens.
Oh yeah.
But I had someone, Freysen, who kind of found me on Discord and was kind of fanboying out, and I was like, I'm just a person, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And now, him and what? Well, so him and I have been talking quite a bit. Now him and I are working together because he's more, he definitely has some Gaulish work, but because he is from Switzerland, him and I have been able to, exchange a lot of information because I haven't even been there, but it's a great passion of mine. He's from there. He lives in Texas now. Why you would live in Texas, I don't know. But
it's warmer.
But there's Ted Cruz's running around.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now he went from and I could have been like a dick to him. I could have been, stayed in that, above him. But no, I wanted to bring him up, be on the same level as him because that's where we are. And now he's helped me quite a bit. And I'm going to start, as I start writing more into Alemannic and Swabian stuff, which is very much his expertise.
Right.
I'll definitely be giving him credit there as well.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Was because they're with me. Bruin and Kasana, who are actually from Belgic lands, and there have been other people out in like the Netherlands or Belgium too that have contacted me and been like, "Oh, we love your stuff. Thank you so much for doing this." And there's like another blog that has referenced me a few times, and that person's also from there, and that's super humbling too, just because like, you know, I'm not as familiar with that history as someone who was born on that land. So like having people actually from that land who speak the different modern languages from there, know the history and the folklore, come to like, we totally vibe with this. And thank you for like, you know, doing this and like just inspiring us. Is like, you know what, thank you. You guys are great. So
yeah, exactly. Because Freysen's someone I work with very closely now, but I've had other people from Switzerland tell me like, "Oh wow, yeah, we love your stuff." And it's like, wow, yeah.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Brian? What do you?
I know. I'm not that cool. I have a blog. I sometimes update it. It's usually about Druid being the wee baby on the path of Druidry, and not a great writer. I am an excellent everyman. Pretty much it. I'm good at breaking things down to a baby polytheist level. Or asking questions that I know young polytheists would ask, but that's more or less it. I just I'm like, oh hey, guys, that is very complicated. Can we dumb it down?
You're a lot better coming up with questions on the spot than I am.
That is 10 years of working at University of Phoenix and learning how to ask open-ended questions because I don't know what to say. And they teach us how to do that. 10 years of customer service, that's what that is. Selling terrible, crappy college at an overly ridiculous cost. But thank you. Literally from work. That, and I was always the child that asked why 900 times till I understood what somebody meant.
For sure.
I told you Debranos. He'll say something and I'll be like, well, why?
You're Mindy from Animaniacs.
Yes.
Oh.
I want to ask people why until they figure out how to break it down to an understandable level, even if I already understand it, which I frequently do because I'm actually pretty smart. But one of the things that we run across very frequently in polytheist circles, serious polytheist circles, is complicated explanations for simplistic ideas.
Oh yeah.
And it is an excellent way to make people not want to dive deeper. And so it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of like understanding that you're going to have to deal with somebody going, but why? I don't understand. How come?
Yeah.
Where can you show me that reference? Tell me where to go. Tell me what to go read. I'm going to come back with 19 more questions.
Oh yeah.
Because especially in Gaulish Polytheism, where everything is so academic,
it's like
there's so much that I just looked at my first, because I've only been a Gaulish Polytheist for a year.
Yep.
And it was overwhelming at first. So I just started asking questions like a fucking 5-year-old. But why?
Oh, yeah.
How come? I don't understand. Can you explain that differently? How does that relate to this?
Eventually, you will get to the point where if there is a question that can either be answered with A or B, the answer will be yes.
Yeah.
That'll be the thing. It'll be like, well, is it, we reincarnate, or is it that we go to a blessed isle, or is it that we go to the realm of the gods after we die? Yes.
One.
Yep, and that'll be every single thing, because you're gonna look at like regions and time, and you'll be like, they say this thing, but it might have transformed into this, or maybe it was a survival, and maybe it was culturally diffused, and you're like, I don't care, all of it, whatever, it's fine. Because it's one of those things where you look at the Gallo-Romans, because a lot, when we start on Gaulish Polytheism too, like a lot of us will be like, boo Rome, and try to like separate all the influence and everything. But then we realize is like, no, a lot of these cultures were diffused and syncretized and like melded all over the place. And the thing about that too, is cultures change, So
and on top of that, like the concept of borders was a lot less firm.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people forget about the social aspect of humanity, which is I traveled X distance, which, let's say 100 miles, and I was there for a year, and I liked X, Y, and Z that we don't have at home. So I'm going to take X, Y, and Z home with me, and
that's exactly
X, Y,
it.
and Z with my tribe.
Exactly. So you got to look at the Gallo-Romans and be like, so just because they're Gallo-Romans, do they not have tribal affiliations anymore? And it's like, you look at the epigraphic examples, it's like, oh, of course they do. They're still Nervians. They're still Arverni. Just because they become Romanized, it doesn't mean they're any less Gaul. They're not half and half. They're two things at once.
Exactly.
So it's eventually you get to that point where you're just like, it says this. Do you like this? Yes. Okay. Well, then do that. If you don't like it, don't do it. You don't have to do it. So, yeah.
So yeah, for me, it's Aurelia doesn't really come up because I'm not one of those people who's super involved in building and structure and things like that. I'm just more the person who's going to ask the same dumb question 6 different ways to get a clearer answer.
Yeah. No, and I think that's great. Any type of virtues that we come up with, we're not all going to have them in our life right away. If sometimes maybe not at all. Sometimes we'll just double down on certain things. So I think that's totally fine.
Well, I think that is it for us this month. So we apologize that we skipped the entire month of May because life happened and it didn't like us. But
yes, it did. Yes, it did.
But you can find us on all of the social medias, usually under GaulCast or GaulCast podcast. The information will also be below, as well as all of Selg's information and whatnot.
Definitely check out his site, Cenobes's Bowgun. There's a lot of cool stuff there. He's even got a Redbubble, so check that thing out.
You get a Redbubble?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. I put that in as the link on there. So if you do post the Instagram, it should be on there. So.
All right, cool. So we will put all of that information in the about box below. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. I am Branogara, and my partner in crime is...
I'm Artocatos.
And thank you again, Selg, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah,
all right.
Definitely have you on again for when we cover the tradition.